The court documents nobody was supposed to see are finally out. And trust me, they're messier than anyone could have imagined. Buried deep inside Drake's legal filings are details that fans, critics, and even some of his closest allies can't stop whispering about. At first glance, these pages look like boring legal jargon, but once people started connecting the dots, a storm of betrayal, money trails, and behind-the-scenes drama came to light, and the loudest voices calling it out? None other than Monie and the rap scholars who claim these documents reveal a side of Drake that even his most loyal fans weren't ready to face. Picture this: contracts torn apart, accusations of shady backroom deals, and heated arguments, spilling over into the music industry's biggest families. It's not just about music anymore, it's about loyalty, power, and a shocking set of choices that could change Drake's legacy forever. Fans are stunned, insiders are scrambling, and emotions are running higher than ever. So what exactly did Monie and the rap scholars uncover, and why does it have the entire hip-hop community pointing fingers? Stick around, because this is one story that only gets darker the deeper we dig. When those court documents first slipped into public view, the industry didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or brace for impact. What seemed at first like another routine filing quickly snowballed into a scandal that had everyone from fans to insiders questioning everything they thought they knew about Drake. The whispers began quietly in backrooms and private chats, but soon enough Monie and the rap scholars amplified it for the world to hear. They claimed the paperwork wasn't just dry legal text, it was a blueprint of betrayal, filled with hidden clauses, strange signatures, and lines that hinted at backdoor dealings no one was supposed to know about. Fans were stunned when they realized that some of the names linked in those documents weren't just executives or lawyers, but personal connections, friends who had been around Drake since the beginning, family members who were thought to be untouchable, and even collaborators who had sworn loyalty to him. What shook people most was the emotional undertone woven through the narrative. This wasn't just about money or music, it was about broken promises and fractured trust. Monie, in her usual fiery tone, didn't hold back when she dissected the pages lived for her audience. "Look at this clause," she said, holding up the highlighted portion. "This is not how a man protects his team. This is how someone sets himself up while letting others take the fall." The rap scholars, known for their analytical breakdowns, chimed in with equal conviction. "These aren't mistakes," one of them argued, "they are deliberate choices. Choices that reveal how calculated Drake has been, and how much he was willing to risk his relationships to secure his throne." Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Drake wasn't being painted as the smooth operator who always managed to stay above the chaos. Instead, he was portrayed as a mastermind who had been playing chess with everyone around him, moving people like pawns while smiling in their faces. Friends close to the camp allegedly felt blindsided. One unnamed insider described the atmosphere as tense and heartbreaking, adding, "There are people who looked at him like a brother who now feel like they've been cut out of the picture without a second thought." The revelation ignited heated arguments behind the scenes, arguments that spilled into public when muted tweets, cryptic Instagram stories, and subtle song lyrics seemed to reference the betrayal. As the story gained traction, fans began speculating wildly. Some were convinced that this was part of a bigger setup, that Drake was being sabotaged by people who wanted to see him fall. Others believed Monie and the rap scholars were simply brave enough to say what everyone else had been too scared to admit, that Drake's empire wasn't built as cleanly as people thought. The fanbase became divided, with one side defending him fiercely, and the other demanding accountability. What made the situation even more explosive was the sudden appearance of names no one expected. A close family connection appeared tied to financial transfers that didn't line up with the public story. Receipts began circulating online, showing luxury purchases and mysterious withdrawals. "This doesn't make sense," Monie insisted during one heated live, "unless the money was being funneled for reasons that have nothing to do with business." The rap scholars backed her up, pointing out timelines that raised even more questions. It wasn't long before accusations of betrayal and manipulation became the center of every discussion. Emotions ran high when an alleged text thread surfaced, supposedly between Drake and a longtime collaborator. In the exchange, one message read, "You said you'd handle it, now everyone's turning on me." The reply, allegedly from Drake, was chilling in its coldness. "Business is business. Don't take it personal." Whether the texts were real or fabricated didn't matter by then, the damage was done. Fans were outraged. Social media erupted with memes, reaction videos, and threads breaking down every line of the documents. The phrase, "business is business," trended for days, used sarcastically by those who felt Drake had finally shown his true colors. His defenders, however, argued that the documents were being misinterpreted, that Monie and the rap scholars were stirring drama for clout. Twisting it, one fan insisted online, "Everyone knows contracts are complicated. You can make them look however you want if you pick the right lines." But if that was the case, why were so many insiders staying quiet? Usually when false narratives spiral, industry figures rush to shut them down. This time, silence filled. The air and silence, as many fans pointed out, often speaks louder than words. The tension boiled over when a leaked audio clip began circulating. In it, a voice believed to be Drake's could be heard arguing with someone from his inner circle. "You don't get it," the voice shouted. "I'm doing this to protect all of us. But if you can't trust me, then maybe you don't belong here anymore." The other voice, strained with emotion, shot back, "Protect us? You're protecting yourself. The rest of us are disposable to you." That clip spread like wildfire, adding fuel to an already raging fire. Emotions ran higher than ever, with fans replaying the audio on loop, dissecting every pause, every inflection. "You're protecting yourself" became another rallying cry, with even celebrities weighing in. One popular artist tweeted, "Hard to watch heroes fall. Protect the people who helped build you." What started as a legal filing had now exploded into a cultural spectacle, one that blurred the line between courtroom drama and reality TV. It had betrayal, accusations, family fractures, and the kind of emotional intensity that kept people glued to every update. Drake's legacy, once untouchable, now seemed to teeter on the edge of collapse. Yet even as the backlash grew, there were moments that kept fans questioning. Cryptic posts from Drake himself hinted at a bigger story waiting to be told. "They only know half the truth," one post read, "and the rest will come out when it's time." It was enough to keep his defenders hopeful, convinced that he was still in control of the narrative. But Monie and the rap scholars weren't letting up, promising to dig even deeper, to expose the full extent of what the court documents really meant. And just as the community thought they had seen it all, another twist emerged, one that would drag even more people into the chaos and force everyone to pick a side once again. The twist that surfaced next didn't just rattle fans, it rattled the industry to its core. Buried within the appendix of those court filings was a series of emails that hinted at something far bigger than money trails or questionable signatures. These emails suggested that key figures at major labels, executives who had always maintained public neutrality, had been quietly warning Drake for months to clean up his contracts. The implication was shocking. If he had listened, none of this would be happening. Instead, he ignored them. And now the mess was spilling into the public eye. Monie was quick to point out the arrogance implied in those documents. He thought he was untouchable, she told her audience with a mix of disbelief and fury. When you ignore advice from the top brass, you're not just making a mistake, you're making a statement. And the statement Drake made was clear. He thought he was bigger than the system. The rap scholars took it even further. One of them leaned in during their live stream and said, "This is where the downfall begins. It's always the same story when an artist forgets that empires can crumble. They stop listening, they stop protecting their circle, and they start thinking they're invincible. That's when betrayals happen." Fans watching were torn between disbelief and anger. Many of them recalled Drake's history of carefully avoiding major scandals. He had always played the game just enough to stay relevant, just enough to dodge lasting damage. But now, the court documents painted a picture of someone whose confidence had turned into recklessness. Someone who gambled not just with his career, but with the people around him. The situation grew even more explosive when a longtime friend of Drake, someone who had been spotted with him for years at parties and recording sessions, came forward with a cryptic message. In an Instagram story that vanished after only a few hours, they wrote, "You can lie to the world, but you can't lie to the ones who know where the bodies are buried." Though the post disappeared quickly, screenshots flooded the internet and speculation went into overdrive. Fans and bloggers dissected every word, trying to decode the meaning behind "where the bodies are buried." Some believed it referred to literal secrets about the industry, hidden scandals that had yet to surface. Others thought it was a direct jab at the betrayal revealed in the contracts, a reminder that those closest to Drake had knowledge he couldn't bury forever. Either way, the story added another layer of suspense and distrust. Drake's silence only made things worse. For days, he refused to make any public comment, leaving the narrative entirely in the hands of Monie, the rap scholars, and the endless swarm of fans, critics, and commentators online. "Silence is guilt," one fan tweeted. "If he had nothing to hide, he'd be speaking out." Another wrote, "He's playing the long game. Let them talk now, because when he drops his side, it'll shut everyone up." Behind the scenes, however, insiders whispered that Drake was far from calm. Rumors spread that heated arguments had broken out in his camp, with one person allegedly storming out after shouting, "You made us targets, and now we're all burning with you." The alleged response from Drake himself was said to be chillingly cold. "If you can't handle the fire, you were never built for this circle." That single phrase, "never built for this circle," went viral after it was leaked. It sparked debates across social media about loyalty, fame, and whether Drake had turned his inner circle into nothing more than disposable soldiers in his war for dominance. The emotional fallout was devastating for fans who had once idealized his loyalty to his crew. The rap scholars capitalized on this moment, releasing a full hour-long breakdown titled "Drake's Circle of Betrayal." In it, they analyzed every leaked text, every snippet of audio, and every clause in the contract. "It's all connected," they claimed. "The silence, the arrogance, the betrayal. This isn't random, it's a pattern." Monie added her own fiery take, shouting during a live broadcast, "Fans need to stop protecting him. He's not the victim here. He built this mess brick by brick." Emotions ran high across the fandom. Online forums split into factions, one side dubbing themselves the Defenders, who believed Drake was being unfairly attacked, and the other calling themselves the Truth Seekers, who demanded accountability and transparency. The arguments between these groups were brutal, with friendships fractured and online communities turning toxic. The drama escalated further when an alleged financial spreadsheet leaked. It showed a series of payments made to anonymous accounts, linked through offshore banks. While there was no direct evidence tying the payments to illegal activity, the mystery of their purpose left fans speculating wildly. Monie declared, "These numbers don't lie. You don't move money like this unless you're hiding something." The rap scholars agreed, with one pointing out, "This is the smoking gun. If investigators pick this up, it's game over." The spreadsheet added another level of tension to the narrative. Was Drake simply managing his empire in a way outsiders didn't understand, or was he actively covering tracks? Fans debated endlessly, but the lack of answers only deepened the chaos. By this point, family members began to feel the weight of the scandal. Rumors swirled that private phone calls between Drake and close relatives had turned heated, with accusations of dragging the family name into public disgrace. One tabloid claimed to have a source who overheard an argument where a relative shouted, "You're destroying everything we worked for," to which Drake allegedly responded, "I built this on my own, and I'll protect it on my own." Family was left divided. Some relatives reportedly chose to stand by him, insisting that the truth would eventually come out in his favor. Others quietly distanced themselves, refusing to make public statements or be seen in his company. This family fracture gave the narrative a painful human angle suddenly. It wasn't just about money and contracts, it was about bonds that might never heal. As all of this played out, the media frenzy reached fever pitch. Gossip blogs turned out articles daily, YouTube commentators posted breakdowns by the hour, and fans stayed glued to every update. It wasn't just entertainment anymore. It had become a saga, one that felt like reality TV playing out in real time. And then, just when it seemed the scandal couldn't get any bigger, another bombshell dropped, this time not from documents or leaks, but from a voice fans had been waiting to hear from. Someone connected deeply to both Drake and the rap scholars decided to speak, and their testimony threatened to change everything yet again. The insider who finally spoke up wasn't just anyone, it was someone who had worked side by side with Drake during the creation of one of his biggest albums. This was a person fans had always assumed was firmly in his corner, someone who knew the ins and outs of his creative process and private dealings. When their voice leaked in a recorded interview with an underground podcast, the entire internet Froze, the documents are just the tip of the iceberg. The insider began, their voice heavy with a mix of exhaustion and bitterness. What everyone's missing is that these papers aren't just business, they're personal. People who trusted him, who believed in him, got written out, erased like they never mattered. And the saddest part? He acted like it was normal. The host of the podcast pressed them for details, and that's when the emotional weight really came crashing down. We would sit in the studio for hours, talking about loyalty, talking about family, talking about how we were building something bigger than music. Then I see my name missing from credits, my percentage gone from the deal, and when I asked him about it, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You'll thank me later." Thank him? For cutting me out of my own work. Those words echoed across social media like a thunderclap. Fans couldn't believe the coldness of the alleged exchange. The phrase, "You'll thank me later," trended instantly, twisted into memes and bitter commentary. For some, it was a clever callback to his earlier music. But for many, it was proof that the Drake they admired had turned ruthless. Monie seized on the moment. "You'll thank me later? No. What that means is, I took from you because I could. And you better stay quiet about it?" Her tone was fiery, filled with outrage. This isn't just betrayal, it's arrogance at its highest level. The rap scholars agreed, breaking down how phrases like this revealed a mindset where Drake saw himself as above reproach, untouchable in his own empire. The insider went further, painting a picture of heated arguments behind closed doors. People cried in that room, they admitted, voice trembling. Grown men who gave everything to the music, reduced to begging for the respect they deserved. And he brushed it off like it was just business. The revelation sent fans spiraling into emotional debates. Defenders argued that the insider was exaggerating or bitter over being left out. Critics insisted the testimony only confirmed what the documents had already suggested. "We've all heard the stories," one fan posted. But to hear it from someone who was actually there makes it impossible to ignore. The fallout grew even more dramatic when another twist came to light. The insider hinted that they weren't the only one planning to speak. "Give it time," they teased at the end of the interview. "Others are watching this unfold, and when they come forward, the story will be impossible to deny." With that ominous warning, speculation exploded. Who else would step out of the shadows? Collaborators? Family members? Executives who had stayed quiet until now? Every name connected to Drake suddenly came under scrutiny as fans wondered who might be next to expose him behind the scenes. Rumors swirled that Drake was furious about the leak. Whispers suggested he confronted members of his team, demanding to know who had betrayed his confidence. One source claimed he shouted, "If you think you can turn on me and walk away, you'll regret it," though no one could confirm the authenticity of the quote. Still, the idea of Drake lashing out in rage only fueled the public's hunger for more drama. Emotions ran high as the family division deepened. A relative allegedly posted a cryptic message on Facebook that read, "Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. When trust is gone, so is family." Though it was quickly deleted, screenshots once again spread online. Fans latched onto it as proof that the fracture had reached deeper than anyone expected. Meanwhile, the rap scholars released another bombshell analysis, this time focusing on the psychology of Drake's behavior. "We're not just looking at a legal mess anymore," one scholar explained. "We're looking at someone who may have always been this way, calculated, detached, willing to sacrifice anything to maintain control." The documents just make it undeniable. Monie, never one to hold back, turned the conversation into a moral debate. "At what point do we stop separating the art from the artist?" she asked passionately. "When you see people broken, when you hear insiders crying out about betrayal, do we still excuse it because the music is good? Or do we hold him accountable?" Her words struck a nerve, sparking endless debates across platforms. Fans argued fiercely, friendships were tested, and even celebrities were dragged into the discourse. One rapper tweeted, "Too many snakes in this game. You can't call someone family if they'll sell you out for a headline." Though they didn't name Drake directly, everyone assumed the jab was aimed his way. Then came yet another twist. Leaked voice notes began circulating, allegedly featuring Drake venting about the backlash. In one clip, he could be heard saying, "They think they've figured me out, but they're blind. I built this empire because I saw what they couldn't see. If they hate me for it, so be it." In another, he reportedly muttered, Let them talk, I'll still be on top when the smoke clears. The voice notes only deepened the divide. Supporters saw them as proof of his resilience, a king refusing to bow under pressure. Critics saw them as confirmation of his arrogance, a man so obsessed with control he couldn't admit his wrongs. As all of this unfolded, fans noticed one peculiar thing. Kendrick Lamar's camp remained entirely silent. No statements, no tweets, no cryptic bars and songs. The silence was deafening, and it fueled theories that Kendrick didn't need to say a word because Drake was unraveling all on his own. Kendrick already won without lifting a finger. One viral post read, "Drake's doing the work for him." The drama had now reached the level of a full-blown saga, one with no easy resolution. Every day brought new leaks, new testimonies, new fractures within Drake's circle. And with the insiders warning that more voices would soon step forward, fans braced themselves for an even bigger storm. Then, just as people thought things couldn't possibly get more intense, the first of those new voices came forward, an unexpected figure whose testimony would shake the entire narrative to its core. The first new voice to step into the chaos wasn't a producer or a business partner. It was someone far more unexpected, an ex who had remained silent for years. Their appearance on a late-night livestream sent shockwaves through the fandom, and within minutes, clips of their testimony were everywhere. "I stayed quiet for a long time," the ex began, looking both nervous and determined. "But seeing these court documents, hearing the insider story, I can't hold it in anymore. People need to know that this isn't new. This is who he's always been." Their tone was raw, almost trembling. "He has this way of making you feel like you're chosen, like you're special. But the second you question him, the second you stand up for yourself, he flips it. Suddenly you're the problem. Suddenly you're ungrateful." They went on to recount private moments that painted a chillingly familiar picture of manipulation and control. "I remember one night I told him I felt like I was giving more than I was getting, and he looked at me and said, 'If you want to be with greatness, you better know your role.' I thought he was joking, but he wasn't." The chat on the live stream erupted with gasps and furious comments. Fans who had defended Drake for years admitted they were shaken by the revelation. "That line is straight out of the same playbook," one viewer wrote. "It's exactly what?" The insider described the cold, calculated, dismissive. Monie, who was live reacting to the stream, shook her head in disbelief. "This is a pattern," she said, voice heavy with intensity. "This isn't about one contract or one falling out. This is about a man who believes loyalty only flows one way toward him, and when it doesn't, he punishes you." The rap scholars chimed in again, analyzing the dynamic. When you combine the ex's testimony with the insider's account, you see a consistent theme of power imbalance. Drake positions himself as the center of the universe, and everyone else orbits around him. The moment someone tries to break free, he cuts them off, erases them, or diminishes their value. The story spread like wildfire, but the real explosion came when a family member, the same one who had posted that cryptic Facebook status earlier, finally went public. In an emotional interview with a local paper, they didn't mince words. "He forgot where he came from," they said, tears brimming in their eyes. "We used to believe in him, we used to think he was one of us, but the fame, the money, it changed him. Now he doesn't see people, he sees tools. And when he's done with you, he throws you away." That confession broke the internet. Fans were in disbelief, not because of the accusation itself, but because it was coming from family. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't just about contracts and industry betrayals. It was about blood ties snapping under the weight of ego and ambition. The year shows the backlash was immediate. Social media turned into a battlefield. One side screamed that the family was clout chasing, while the other insisted they were finally telling the truth. Hashtags demanding Drake's accountability trended worldwide, and then another twist hit. Court reporters leaked a segment of the documents that hadn't been discussed publicly, yet emails where Drake allegedly dismissed concerns raised by his own legal team. One lawyer warned him in writing, "This approach could be perceived as exploitative and damage your reputation." Drake's response? A chilling, "Reputation is temporary. Power is forever." Those words alone were enough to fuel days of outrage. Fans repeated them like a mantra, both mocking and horrified. "Power is forever" became a meme, painted over pictures of Drake's old album covers. Twisted into ironic slogans, Monie's voice grew sharper than ever. When you start thinking like that, when you start believing power is worth more than people, you've already lost your soul. As emotions ran high, more collaborators began distancing themselves. One producer tweeted simply, "Loyalty is priceless," and unfollowed Drake's account. Another artist who had once toured with him liked multiple posts criticizing his behavior, sparking speculation that they too might speak up. The division in the industry was impossible to ignore. Some remained silent, perhaps afraid of burning bridges, but others subtly signaled their disapproval. Fans began keeping track of who stayed close and who quietly stepped away, turning it into a scoreboard of alliances. Through all of this, Drake himself remained officially silent. No interviews, no statements, no posts, just an eerie absence. But that silence was almost louder than words. People debated whether it was a calculated move or the sign of someone cornered, unable to defend. The indefensible. Then came the climax of the storm. In a stunning twist, audio leaked from what was allegedly a private family meeting. In the recording, voices argued back and forth, but one line cut through everything. Drake's voice saying, "You all eat because of me. Don't forget that." The room reportedly fell silent in the clip, followed by the sound of someone slamming a door. The leak was devastating. Fans described it as the moment the mask finally slipped. Even those who had defended him up to this point struggled to justify the arrogance in his words. "You all eat because of me" trended as the internet tore apart what it meant. Was it gratitude twisted into control? Or proof that he truly saw himself as the provider who deserved unquestioned loyalty? The rap scholars gave their harshest take yet. "That sentence right there explains everything in the court documents," one scholar argued. If you believe that way, everyone around you survives because of you, then you'll justify anything contracts, betrayals, erasures, because in your mind they owe you their lives. By now, fans weren't just shocked, they were devastated. Some admitted they couldn't listen to his music without hearing the echoes of these revelations. Others clung to hope that there was more to the story, some missing piece that would redeem him. But every leak, every testimony, every new twist only deepened the darkness around his name. The crescendo of betrayal, arrogance, and family fractures left the fandom in turmoil. People weren't just debating Drake as an artist anymore, they were questioning Drake as a person. And with the documents still being dissected line by line, with more voices threatening to step forward, the saga was far from over. The only certainty was that the image of Drake as untouchable had been shattered. And whether he chose to respond or stay silent, the world was watching, waiting, and questioning what would come next. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: these court documents have ripped open a world fans never thought they'd see. The insider's confessions, the family's heartbreak, the ex's raw testimony, and the leaked audio all paint a picture far more complex than the glossy image Drake has built for years. But instead of bringing closure, the revelations have left everyone with more questions than answers. Was this all just the price of fame, a man protecting his empire at any cost? Or was it proof that power consumed him, leaving behind fractured families, broken loyalties, and betrayed trust? Fans are torn, some clinging to the hope that he'll speak up, others convinced his silence is the loudest admission of all. And now the spotlight turns to you. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about court documents or leaked recordings, it's about what they mean for the legacy of an artist. The world thought they knew. Do you believe the accusations? Do you see the cracks in the empire? Or do you think there's more to the story still hidden in the shadows? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments, don't hold back. Should Drake finally break his silence? Should the industry hold him accountable? Or is this just another storm he'll survive, like he always has? If you've been hooked by this roller coaster of revelations, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more untold drama, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Because trust me, this saga is far from over and the next twist could change everything. The world is watching. The question is, what will you say when the truth finally comes out?